Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. Crusty's on a rotisserie. Yes, he is. I'm going to turn around and show you my old rotisserie now, how I built it, and how it's all rigged up and how simple it is made. Also, I got Crusty's frame all finished. All the welding is done. I flipped it over on the bottom, welded all the bottom up, made up the last few brackets. It won't take you long now, so stick around. So we're back on Crusty. In the last video, I finished up all the bars, getting them all welded, putting door bars in it, small bars, got all that done. I got a few more things left to do this before I can actually strip it all down and start painting. I gotta put in seat mounts, anti-sway bar, rear shock cross member, and a lower control arm mount that goes on the chassis here for the lower control arm. Other than that, that's pretty well it. That'll finish off this chassis. But now, before I get into this stuff here, I'm going to do the seat mount first because I can get in here and I can stand up here and I can set it all up and find my distances and whatnot. All I'm doing here is I'm going to put a flat piece of bar across here, 1/8 plate, and with a little piece of pipe that's going to be welded to the roll cage, and that's it, be done. It's permanent. I have no intentions of moving these seats. These seats are permanently where they're to. You know, it's not designed. It's designed for me to drive. And that's it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start cutting out 2 pieces of 1/8 plate to make little braces for the back of this here, and I'll dress them up and whatever and get them made. And then I'm going to start, I'll find 2 pieces of pipe that I can put here and figure out the length they got to be. So I went in and ordered a seat mounting kit, and this is what they sent me. I went through my scrap bin here now. I got a piece of pipe for the brace, and I got this piece here. I'm going to cut this out of this and use this for the brace. I'm going to cut 2 of them out, and I'm going to dress them up and make them look pretty and whatever. And I'm going to cut this off to the length it needs to be and cope this here so it fits around the roll cage, and I'll weld that to that there, and that'll be the seat mount itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and get all this made, get it all done. When it comes back, let's see what I made out of it. There you have it. Just hacked off a piece of flat bar off of that there and cut off a couple pieces of pipe and squared them off and rounded out my corners and cut them at a bit of an angle. Welded 2 of mine. There's a left and there's a right. And then I went and coped the end of them there so that when you put them on a pipe, they'd fit around the pipe nice like so. I got them so they're on the angle of the seat. Nothing fancy. Just straightforward, purpose-built. Get them welded on now. And there they are, installed. One there, one over there. Nice and solid there now. I got to weld the bottom side of them, and I got to take seats out to do that, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I got them welded on the top side here on both sides. So that there hobble is done. So now I can move on to the back section here, getting the shock mount next I'm going to work on. But to do that, I got to get that rear end back in it again. So I'm going to turn around and get this all set up now and get it back in the car. So I got that back in. I can do that in my sleep right now. So on this one here, I got the Caltrack bars system on this here, and I got the bottom plates. You can put the shocks in the front or the rear because they're on both sides, see? On that there, you can see the plate over there. But I'm going to put them behind. And I got them all mounted. This is where they're going to be the whole 10 years. And all I'm doing is having shocks going straight up and down. I was taking some measurements and doing it all. And I'm ordering in a set of these shocks here for the back of it. They're like a Mopar shock. They're like 24 inches tall and 14 inches closed. And all the research I've done on the leaf spring site, they basically needs at least 7 inches of travel upwards, right? So, you know, I got this distance here figured out now to the whole point that I will have no less than 7 inches from the shock mount to the shock bottom and out. But what it is now, when she's at ride height, I think there'll only be like 2.5 inches of travel on the top side of it. And then all the rest of it will be the other way. Because these grow, the spring goes that way when you launch these cars. Because that'll slide ahead on the slider there. And it'll plant a tire doing that. But getting back to it, I have a point here and a point here. That's where my shocks are to. And I'm going to have my 2 shocks parallel. Not going to worry about the angle stuff or any of that. I'll get the, just put them straight in the car. So all I'm going to do is measure from that point there to that point there, and that will give my center on the top as well. I already have bars made for here, and I just had them laid in place and tacked in and whatever, and I got them there on the bench there now. So let's go over and size that up. So this bar here goes from inside the rail, All I got to do is figure out the distance now from center of the shock to the center of the shock according to the other one, and then just turn around and find out the overall length, subtract it, and say whatever it is, and that's the end of it. I had a bunch of these kicking around that were given to me a while back, and I'm going to use them as shock mounts. I'm just going to weld them straight onto there like so. I'm going to curve these out a bit so they fits around the pipe nice, and I'll have 2 of them there. And I just got an old shock that I found upstairs. I picked up a bunch of these shocks years ago, and I just got this for the eye on the bottom because I haven't got no shocks there. And all I'll do is I'll put a washer there, and I'll clamp them between that there with a nut and bolt, and that way I can actually tighten it up so I can get it welded and whatnot. Right? So I'll have room there to actually tighten it up when I go to put the shock in when it shows up. So I just got that there for that reason there. So all I gotta do now is figure out my points and figure out where they're going to be on this here. The center is going to be for the shock, and then get them brackets fitting on this bar. So I done some calculations here on my computer and come up with a distance that I had to be, which was 23¼ inches from middle to middle on the shock mount on the bottom. So that will be the center of my shock on the top. And then I just turned around, measured my pipe length and subtracted the difference, measured it off either end, marked it, and then measured 2 of these, and they're 23¼ inches. So I got that done. Then I went over here and I turned around and modified this here. I clamped 4 of them together. Ooh, that's hot. And then turn around and then just grinded that off with a grinder. Could have used a hole saw or something in it, but I'm trying to keep this as long as I possibly can. But I took a scrap piece of pipe there, over here, and I got that. So I'm happy with that way that fits around that there. So now I got 4 of them are made, and they're all the same length. So that's the main thing. I want to make sure that was 90 degrees to them there. So I'll take them apart there now, and I can start fitting them on this here, and I'll make sure that they're in the center here. What I'll do is I'll find out how wide they are, and I'll measure the distance on either side and mark it off so I'll have points on it. And I'll weld 2 here, and I'll weld 2 here, and that'll be my shock cross member. So here's what I got done so far. I attached the 2 of the tabs to the shock itself, and I added a washer to it, and then I tightened it up. That way it gives me a bit of play. I got that all held tight, but the washer gives me a bit of a space, so there's still room there to actually put the shock in there when I gets it done. Then what I went and did is the clip busted on the shock, so it didn't matter, and I had to extend it out. The longer it is, the better it is. I took a square, I clamped the pipe to the bench, okay? And I took a square and I lined the square up down here, so I can physically see that it's square off of that there. And then I squared up my shock up here, off of the square itself. So that way I knew that was there. Now right here, you had to put that in the center of that. All I did there was this, okay? Took my measuring tape. You can see 2 and 4, okay? All I did is I just fooled around with that there. You can see 2 on the edge there. Okay, you put 2 on the edge there, but you can see where the 4 is too. Well, if you split the difference between the 2 and the 4, and have it so that there's the same distance on the outside of it, and all you got to do then is set it up, and you look at it, the 3 is on the center, okay? Just, you know, you can sit down and try to measure this and measure that, move it over. That's just a quick little thing. You can do that with almost anything. The 3 and the 5. 4 will be the center then. Right? You put that there and you move it over so that the 3 and the 5 is in the same location on the outside. 4 is the middle. Just a quick little tip for, you know, find the center or something right quick. So I got that all set up there now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to... I'm going to go ahead now and weld that on. Well, I'm having fun here. I got the other bracket there, and I went ahead and I made this little shim here to fit in this one over here so it's nice and tight so that I can actually bolt it all together and put a nut and bolt in it, tighten it up while I'm welding it. And look, I did make it because I'm going to need it for this. I turned around and did the shock thing over on this side and squared it all off and set it all up and I tack welded it on. But when I turned it onto the bench this way here and laid it flat on the bench, it wasn't, 2 of these weren't parallel. So I had to rethink this again. I had to cut it off, take it off the thing. A piece of threaded rod would be good. I haven't got nothing here that size. I'm not going to buy nothing. I'm making do with what I got. So what I went and did is I turned it up on the bench to see what I had to do. And I found that a piece of 1/4 plate and a piece of 1/8 plate was the distance on the bench, okay? Now, if I needed sheet metal there, I would have put that in to shim it up. That gets that there so that rests flat. So I come over here and done the same thing with 2 more pieces like that. And then I just slid this back into this here so it's flat on the table. And then I got my measurements, made sure this is centered. And so now 2 of them are parallel to each other. And they're on the same plane in terms of, like, before when I laid down the bench, it's sort of like it rocks sort of like this here, because one side was a little bit off than the other. I'm getting really, really fussy, aren't I? So I got this all centered up here now. That's all ready to go. I'm going to tack weld that in place here now. So I got that tack welded in place. And now when you lay it on the bench and size up both sides, it stays flat. Just nice like that. I'm going to go ahead now and start welding all this up and get these here 2 tabs welded on, or them 4 tabs welded on. And that'll be the shock cross member done. So I got them welded up. Work smarter, not harder. As you can see, I moved everything around so everything was on the flat and it was easy to weld. Like, you know, anybody can, you know, do a nice weld on the flat. And that's where it's key. So if you can set it up on the flat, do it on the flat, okay? You know, like I always tells everybody, I'm not a welder, okay? I can't be doing all this overhead stuff and stuff like that. It'll be all dripping in my face. But I got them welded up there now. I gotta let them cool off. I'm gonna go over now, get the chassis prepped and get the ends of these pipe prepped, ready to go so I can mount the cross member in place. So here's where I'm to. I got the cross member put in place and I put it where I figures it want to be. And what I got done here now is I got a rope hung down off it with a nut on the end of it, trying to line it up with the bottom bracket itself this way here, so it's in the center of where it's to. Now that bottom bracket needs to bend it a small bit because it's on a bit of an angle. So I'm here eyeballing this now where it's got to be. So I'm pretty happy where it's to there now. The distance, how far back it is and how low it is. I got about 16 inches from the eye of that one there to the eye of that one there, which is great. I had it set up for like 17.5. I can rise it up again, but no, I just soon leave it there now. That'll give me more travel upwards. It'll give me about 8 inches of travel upwards then. So I got it in place there now. I'm just going to square it up with a square, tack weld it in place, make sure it all looks good, and then weld it in. So here's the sway bar that I have, okay? Anti-sway bar, whatever you want to call it. I bought this through Bears Performance. It's a company here in Canada. Been dealing with high performance and drag racing for many, many years. A very reputable company. I bought this kit off about a year ago, and it comes pretty good. It comes with the arms, with a bearing mounting tab. It comes with the bar itself, the rod ends, and then of course you cut them to length, whatever length you want them, and then there's the mounting brackets for the chassis itself. These here now mount onto the end of this here pipe, and the bearing goes in between these, okay? In between this tab. Right here, as you can see, that's where it has to go. Now, this here has to be welded on to this bar here, which is pretty tricky. I'm going to get one of the boys to TIG weld this on. I'm not going to experiment with my TIGging abilities. Welding this on. This is something crucial I want to get done, and I'm going to leave it up to a professional. Sometimes you got to do that. Can I MIG weld it? Probably can, but I think it's going to be too much heat, and I think this is chrome moly. I'm not quite sure, not 100%, but I think a TIG will be able to control it a lot better. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rig all this up, set it up where I want it to, clamp it all together so I can actually get the width on these blocks here, because these braces here, I got to weld onto a cross member, and they bolt onto that there, and they're welded onto a bar. So that way, and then I can put the bar in the car, and that'll be done. I'll worry about this later. As long as I got the distance between them figured out where I want them, I'll know that. I'll tell him and say, okay, that distance from here to here got to be X numbers, so whatever it is, okay? So I'm going to go ahead now, set this all up, and get it all rigged up so I can actually get them brackets welded together. So here's where I'm at. I turned around and I got everything put together. You can see the way this fits inside of the bracket, okay? And there's a bearing in that here, and that has to be welded on to this bar here. This here has to be welded onto this here. So I figured out my distance that I needed from center to center up here, which is an even 25 inches, and that will fall on a where I want it to fall to on the rear end, which is right here. It's in between the rails, and it'll fall on the rear end about right here. That's where it'll fall on, and that's where the brackets will be welded on later. Not worried about them right now. So I got that figured out, and I knows my distance is there. I went ahead then, I put these two little hose clamps on either side of it just to hold it all in, and measured it over to make sure it's 25 inches. Clamp that on that there. Come over here now, and I got the bracket put on it because what I want to do, I'm after getting the cross member done is what I'm after. So I got the bracket bolted on to that there with just a couple old bolts. It comes with bolts in the kit, but they're locking nuts. I don't want to use them because them Teflon nuts, you only use them a few times and they strips out. I want to save them for the final assembly. And I just dug up some old bolts there, 5/16 bolts, and put them together like that. One of the things that I do a lot when I'm making brackets, this is a piece of 24 gauge, 22 gauge maybe. What I do is I just cut out a little sliver of this here, and I drill a couple of holes in it so it lines up with this here. I'm bolting this together here, and you can see I have a piece of it put in there. The reason why I do that is that it'll give it a little bit of play, because when this welds, it wants to pull, okay? It's going to want to pull itself. That here will give me that little bit of extra that it'll turn around, that'll give me, so I can actually have room. You see me do it on the shocks as well. I put a washer in between them, right? Same process, okay? So I'm going to go ahead now, get all this here mounted on this side here, and get sizing up the bar that goes across that I already got pre-cut, and get that fitting and centered on this here. So here's what I got cobbled together. Cut piece of steel and everything. I got the brackets bolted out, and I got the shim on the same side. I got on the inside on both sides. Then I just laid it all flat on the bench to let it all rest. Then I pulled it all together that way there. And when you stand back and look at it now, it sits down as parallel. When you're looking at it through it here, that's parallel. And I got it all set up now the same distance from here, the same distance from here. When I measure from here to here, it's 25. From here to here is 25. So my center line is 25, where I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead now, get this all set up, and get that welded on. So I got all that welded up. Inside here, around the back, and on the outside on both sides. Got everything welded. So now I'm ready to put this in the car. I'm going to leave this all together for now, because this is the way this has got to fit in the car. And I'll need this here to find out where this point here will go. So I'm going to go over now and set this up in the car and see what I can come up with and how far back this got to be. I think I'm going to set up the same way the other one is on the bottom of the frame rail. So I'll set up two little things there now that I can actually guide it down and make sure that it doesn't hit. Some of you might be wondering how all this works and whatnot. I got this position in place where there's two there now, and I'm happy where there's two. I'm going to weld that pipe on there and whatever, but you can see the way the bar goes across here. Now there's these little links here, these here. Okay, there's another top on it like that there. That will go down and weld onto the top of the rear end, and then it'll be mounted onto the top of this here. So it'll be set up like so, like that. And that'll be the part of it there. And that's what you'll adjust for your anti-sway bar. You put a tie on one side and whatnot and set it all up. This will actually keep the car from twisting as you launch the car. Okay, so I'm happy where that's two there now. I'm just going to take a few more double measurements, make sure everything's good. Like when you back up here now and you line up that bar with the one in front of it, you can see it's pretty good. I'm going to take some measurements there now to make sure that everything is good and get that welded in. So that's another piece of the puzzle. Fitted up, got it all figured out. It's all welded in place. Just got to weld the bottom side of it a bit. I'll address the anti-sway bar later on when it goes to install it in the car itself, because I still got to weld brackets on the rear end, but I'm not, like, I still have to do stuff with the rear end and drill hole rails here, get the leaf springs figured out, all that type of stuff. So I'm not going to get into that until I got everything else done. That'll be one of the last things that I'll put on it, is the actual sway bar mounts, because I got to weld on to the housing right there, but I'll get everything else done first. So, but I do have the mounting location in place. That's all that matters. So now I'm pretty well clued up with everything. I've been thinking about other stuff. Battery box got to go over here, and then gas tank got to go in here, and I'm sizing up ways that I can reinforce it, because you just can't put it on tin floor. So I'm thinking, I was going to sizing up, going to use angle iron or flat bar, and I was like, no, be creative with it, Tony. So when I'm going to incorporate the reinforcement into the floor of the car itself when it goes to do it. So I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm not going to bother with none of that. I was thinking about that. Usually, a lot of times you just run flat bar down, cross back the side here, and that way your gas tank got something to rest on, or if you're going to drop it through the floor. But I'm putting the gas tank, the height of the trunk floor. I want to have the fuel as high as I can get it. And besides that, it clears up, it frees up some space underneath the bottom of the car, because I want to put my trans cooler back here as well. So I'll turn around and have to make a mount for that. That'll be later on type thing. So it's not crucial to have to do none of that right now. So the only other crucial piece I got to do now is the trailing arms up here in the front that run from here down to the back of the control arm here. I got to make up them there. So I got to size everything up. But what I'm going to do here first, because that's the last bit there, and I had that rigged up so the control arms are level, so I can do that with everything taken off the car, and I just need the lower control arm in place, because the way I got it mounted, I know that my lower control arm is level, the way I got it set up for a ride height, and I got that bar mounted in place there, so that'll give me that, and then I'll know everything there. I must have run through the motions, do all that type of stuff. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to blow everything apart, take everything off this frame rail, because my next thing I'm going to do with this here now is that I'm going to put this on a rotisserie. This thing has been through the war and back. This is my old rotisserie. It comes in sections, takes it all apart, and I got it set up so you can weld it on to different things. I was never ever fancy with it. This was given to me, another person built it, and I've been just modifying and adding to it over the years. It's one of those things that's left outdoors, so I'm not too concerned about how pretty it looks and whatever. So, but this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to rig this up in the garage and set this all up. And I think I'm just going to take these cross braces here and weld these right onto the chassis itself. That way it's a solid platform. Usually everything bolts on, but I haven't got much to bolt to. I might figure out something, put some pipe or something in it and weld it on, but we'll figure something out. So I'm going to get it all stripped apart and get this in and start fitting this to the chassis. There it is, all blown apart. I left the lower control arms in it because I got to still make them brackets up. But just to give you an idea, it's not that heavy. Look. I can lift that there with one arm. So 2 people can take this and go on with this. The only problem I got right now is I got to find something to do with all this. Ooh. All that was on this. Ooh. Anyway, I'll get things tidied up here, get all this put away, find a home for it all, so it's out of my way. And then I'm going to bring in the rotisserie and start rigging this up on the rotisserie. So a lot of people have been asking about this because I've after having it on a few videos where I had it on cars. It's nothing fancy, okay? This was given to me, 15 plus years ago. And it was made up and there was nothing fancy about it. And I never got fancy with it other than this RAM setup I've added to it, a few other things. All it is, okay, this looks to be like an old Chev hub. Okay, front hub or something off something, because the rotor's still there, and it's welded on to a couple of pieces of pipe. Okay, nothing fancy, just old scrap Then I went and changed the upright on it because there was a pipe on it. And I got a piece of 2x3 put on it. It was a scrap piece of head kicking around. A couple of 1-inch angle iron to brace it up. This here is 2.5 by 2.5, I think it is. It's 2 inch inside. I know that for a fact. That's welded on the end of it. This here is a jack used for like raising lower trailer and stuff like that. Because there's the mechanism there for going on your trailer. You spin it up, you spin it down. And I welded it on solid there. And then I welded a piece of 2x2 across that. My attachments go on off of that there. And sometimes I'll even weld to that. Okay. That's all there is to it. Okay. This here, I picked this up from an old friend of mine. And it's a gear drive unit. It did work. The problem with it is it had like a very soft metal gear inside. Like you used to be able to rotate this and then rotate the car around in a circle. But it had a gear inside of it that the teeth were, there was a couple of teeth missing on it. And I only had one car on it. And when I rotated around it, it got to the spot where there was no teeth. It slipped and then it chewed off about 6 teeth. It just brought the car just rotated back to where it wanted to again. So I ended up eliminating that. And now all I do is on the other end down here, I have a pin. And I'll put it in 4 locations, okay? There's a pin here, see? So you can flip it sideways, upside down, whatever, and you put the pin in it. That's what holds it all in place. That there just sits where it wants to on this end here. There is no location to drop a pin or nothing down here because all this here is all bearings and everything. And I just left it alone, kept it on the machine. I don't get fancy with this stuff. And I recommend you don't. As you can see in these pictures here, I've had a lot of cars on this, okay? A lot of trucks. And every one of them had to mount differently, okay? So, you know, when you're making one of these up and you're thinking that you're going to be restoring 62 Rolls Canardies, and that's all you're going to restore, well, that's fine. You make it fit that car. But if you're going changing it constantly, you can't be getting fancy with it, okay? I have this set up also. It's adjustable for the length of the cars. I take a piece of 2x2 and I put in between that there, and then I move it in and move it out to the length of the cars. Because unibody cars like Dodges are longer. Camaros, GMs have the subframe in the front. It's shorter, so you got to have it so you can adjust the middle of it here, so you can just adjust the length of it. I'm setting it up here in the garage here now that I can turn around and figure out how wide it's got to be to figure out what piece of 2x2 I'm going to put in there. On this end here, it's just an old scrap piece of 2x2. Another piece of 2x2. This one's been through the worn back. It's all swollen up. It's actually filled up with ice because it's been left outdoors and stuff like that over the years. A couple old pieces of pipe. It's not the same as the other side. This side here, got a set of Volkswagen hubs welded onto it. Old set of drums. Right? That's all's on that. Just something. And the reason why the wheels are on it, it makes it a lot easier to move around. I've had this here and had to bring it to places to get the car sandblasted. And this will fit right onto a flat deck truck. And you just pull it on, strap it down, go on with it, and unroll it. That type of thing. Tires don't hold air. They go down overnight. I've been meaning to put tires on this now for 10 years. But I forgets about it. I had this lent out to a couple of people for the last few years. It left here on the back of a Bronco, or left here on a Bronco. And it came back. I had to go pick it up there the other week ago. A young fella had it, and he had a 60s Mustang on it. So it's a cool thing to have, and it's great to have around. I'm going to set it up now so this will fit on it. So I want to figure out how wide it's got to be to figure out if I'm going to use the standard piece of 2x2 that I got the big long one for it, or I got to make a short one for it. So I'll figure that out, and then we'll get this here put together. So this is the center bar that I had for it. Seems like it's going to be the best kind. I got this set up roughly now where it's got to be. And then this will just slide into there and slide there, and I'll adjust the length of it. And all you do then is you just tighten up these bolts. All the R's are 3/4 enough. A hole drilled in the 2x2, or the 2.5 by 2.5, and then a bolt put in it, and that's how you snugs it up, okay? Nothing fancy, okay? Well, first thing I got to do is one of the reasons why this is in 2 pieces as well. I'm going to bring the body of this over here, and bring the chassis over here, and get it up on 4 stands, so it's in the middle of it before I put this in place, because I won't get the body over here after that, or the chassis over here after that. So I'll get this brought over, get it up on 4 stands, and get this set up. So I'm getting it all set up here. I'm in the process here now. What I went and did, because this pipe's been left outside, I just ran the grinder over the top of it, knocked all the heavy flake off it and whatever. And then I put a coat of rust check on it, Just the turnaround's a bit greasy and oily, and just enough to make it easier to slide in. Done the same thing in there. Made sure them 2 bolts were sticking down, and I sprayed some rust check in there. So that's all it is, just used a bit of rust check. So I'll get that put together here now, and I can start putting that in on. And there you have it. Got that all set up there now, going through the middle there. I just got to adjust the height of it now, and I got the length of it close to where it should be. I got to figure out what way I'm going to attach this to this now. Whether I'm just going to weld it to it, or to one of the braces, or I'm going to make something slide inside of it. I don't know. I'm going to size that up. But here's the rest of it. These are adjustable. These are the ones you're going to have to butcher. Most times, these here slides over the end of these here, and they're designed to go in underneath the car to grab a body mount here and there and stuff like that. And sometimes you got to modify them and change them, and it's just the same concept. It's 2x2, 2.5 by 2.5, and it's just little brackets and everything that I made. Them ones there in particular I made to fit a Bronco, and there was 2 missing. That's it. They've been gone like 3 or 4 years. I wasn't expecting to get it all back anyway. So. This stuff here is stuff that sometimes you got to remake every now and again. So I got enough here. I don't need 2 of them. I'll use what the pieces are here now to do it. I might cut these off here and use these here to slide on over this here. And then find some way to attach it to this here. And same with on this end up here. I might just weld it on. I don't know. I might just weld it onto this here and call it clear later on. But I got to paint it and everything. So, you know, I had something sliding here. Once these are clamped tight, this whatever's in here is not going to come out. It may rattle around a bit when you rotate it a bit, but I might just take a piece of pipe and slide it probably into here somewhere and weld it on to one of these here, and just have it so that when it slides in there, you slide it on over this here. So I'll size it up, see what I come up with. So here's what I come up with. I got these here. These are the stands. Usually goes another way. I was going to chop these up, but there's no need of them. If I stood them up like that, they'll still go on the unit, and I'll have a flat surface here to go off of. All I'm going to do is I got this piece of pipe here. That fits inside this here, okay? I'm going to cut that in half, this here, and I'm going to weld it here. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to weld that there on that side there with so much pipe to have this so that slides in there. I'll do the same thing on the other side, had so it slides in there. I'm not going to weld it onto it or connect it or anything to it. When this here is pushed together and these bolts here are tightened, this here going to have to slide apart. Oh, a good 6 inches or more for it to actually fall out. And same with down the other end. Down the other end, I'm going to use roll bar pipe. I got some of this here, this stuff here. I'll do the same process down here, and I'll just slide this in here like so, and that will go all the way in there like that, and that's what she'll ride on. So, and that shouldn't come off of that. It'll probably rattle a bit or something like that and move around, but when I get it all pushed together tight, it'll be fine. So I might just end up probably putting a tack weld or something on them there, or that should be fine. Once I tighten up them bolts, that'll be good. So I'm going to go ahead now, take these here and get these welded onto them cross braces there on the floor and get them positioned and in place. That's all I got done. Piece of pipe down, I'm going to pull that in. Probably put a bit of come along there, or a ratchet strap, and just pull this together so that comes in tight to that there. After pulling it apart down here, and then I'll come down here on this end here and do the same thing again. I got it set up down here, piece of pipe, going inside the frame rail, go inside the frame rail there. So when it pulls all this tight together, you can see I got it slipped out there. That'll it'll all hold itself in place, and I'll tighten up them bolts then. That'll keep everything from coming apart again. So get this put together here now. There you have it. I got a little safety put on it because these are only slipped inside here. So all I did is I turn around, put a ratchet strap around that and around the body, and I'll just remove that when I goes painting it. But everything is there now, all rigged up. Did the same thing on this side. You can actually take it now and rock it. We'll rotate this around now. Put it up on the side and whatever wants to work on it, and I'll get her done now. So got that done. I got this here left to do. Braces here. And then I'm going to start welding everything up. But I think I'm going to go ahead and start welding everything up because I need to dig out another control arm. This one here don't look right. And dig out some materials so that I can actually make rod ends for this here. I'm going to make one for now. I just want to get the brackets more or less welded onto the chassis here so I can have that done. Anyway, get the garage cleaned up now and get this back inside. Here she is on the rotisserie. So I got it up on the side, so now I can weld all the bottom, everything where I missed it on the bottom. I can go back now and I can weld all these sections here, bottom of the pipes, all that type of stuff. Nice and comfortable spot to get here. You can see where I weld this up in the plating system. I get all welded up. It's tricky getting it up there. Center of gravity is not the best with that system because most of the weight is on the bottom because most of the steel is here and it's not a lot on the bottom. And to try to rotate it around, it needed to be higher. And like this section here, when you're looking at it, this pivot point here should have been down here more for this particular frame. But I got it up there. All I did is took some ratchet straps, put them on the tires, ratcheted it over one side, on the other, come back, loosen up. I should have heavier ratchet straps, or even better yet, a come along of some sort to get it. That's the reason why I was like that cranking system. It'd be nice if I had something like that again, something where I can crank on that there. And the gear drive is just a matter of cranking that there, and that just slowly just turned it and cranked it right around and go 180 degrees. But the gearing inside broke my heart, right? The gearing inside was very soft, and so if it skipped the teeth, it'll just grab other teeth and just shear them off, right? So, but I got it up there. I just put them on there now to show you what I got done up here now. Is I got this a pin up here in front. I got that put in it. Up here, there's a bolt I got put down through where the pin is too. So that there, I can let all this go here now, and this will stay where it's to. Right. She'll stay where it's at. I only done this here just to show you what I had done here. Okay. So she's there now, and I can work away on this now. So I'm going to go ahead now, and what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to clean up the bottom of it and just go ahead and start welding everything up. Well, I didn't want to bore you with all that. I started welding it. I was at that over an hour welding everything up. I got everything on the bottom side all welded up. All the bottom side of all the pipes and everything. And I went over the bottom of the roll cage and went over all the front up here and welded the, whatchamacallit in place. The rack mount. I got to trim that off, round that off the edge of it there. I got that fully welded on. Roll cage. Plating system, the bottom of the boxes are all welded on. It was just continuous welding is all it was. Same old stuff, right? But I got it like this now, and all I got left to do now is run this brace up here. I got a new toy. Look at this. This is neat. I went and rigged this up on this here. I wanted one of these here for a while, and you can get ones that are mounted like a winch and stuff like that. But I got this one Vivo. It's pretty neat old rig. Comes with a remote and everything. Huh? Yeah, works best kind. Turn around then, want to put it up on the side. That's it. Worked out perfect. Just had to put a little bit of modification on the front over here. Put a little U-hook here, drill a hole in that brace there. Put a chain on it, put a nut bolt in it, hooked it on there. Here you go, simple little winching mechanism rigged up on it now. So I can actually move it around and everything. You're only going to want to go one way or the other. It's kind of hard to put stuff completely upside down. So I got it rigged up like that for now. Just so I can actually rotate it, so I can paint it and whatever. I can use that so I can move it around and whatnot, right? But anyway, so I got that all straightened away. So I'm going to turn around, put this back down now, and I'm going to work on the 2 last brackets, the ones from here to here. So here, the last thing I got to do now is on these here, you can see these 2 bolt holes here. There used to be a control arm piece that bolted on here with a rod that went back through here and had a bushing in it. And then it was mounted in the car. I'm eliminating that, and I'm trying to find some way to run this from here into here, and have it like a rod end on it, something I can adjust, whatnot, right? The biggest thing with this is, in order for this to really work good, it's got to be straight in line with the lower control arm here. I'm having a problem that I can't do that because where the start motor's to on the other side, the rod end will be right where the starter's to. So it's going to be an issue, so I got to try to see if I can make do with it. The rod end is going to want to turn like this. Well, as it rotates this way, it's also going to want to turn, so I got to take that in consideration as well when it rotates down. I was up talking to my buddy Phil. He had a bunch of stuff up there, and he gave me a bunch of stuff to give a try. So let's have a look, see what we got here. Got a bunch of stuff here. What's up, Phil? Phil's been racing for years. His car was this one here. I've done a pile of work on it over years. But he had a bunch of this stuff here that he had kicking around. He said, take it and see if any of it's any good. Yeah, what I have here, which is pretty neat. This is an original lower piece. Because his car was set up much the same way, his little Datsun. And these are out of a Datsun. And he had rod ends and everything there and stuff like this. And I said to myself, I might be able to incorporate these into them, because I got the rod end thing screwed on the end of them, so I might be able to use it. So I'm going to take this over and size this up and see how close I can make these work. If not, I have these here that I can use with a piece of pipe. Try that as well. What I'm doing here now, this is sort of temporary. I'm trying to figure out my end bracket on the frame rail, because once I get that bracket welded on the chassis, I got the chassis work done. And then everything else, I can fine-tune this after, as long as I figure out what way I'm going to mount that up here. So I'm going to go ahead now and size all this up and see what I come up with. So I'm here sizing things up. And I got this one here, which is the original Datsun one. And I was sizing up, just bolting that on there in the one hole, drilling a new hole, and putting that up on the back side there, making a bracket for up there. But as I ran it through the motions, I noticed that there was an issue with it. And having it solid mounted on this end here, it was making a bind, okay? So as simple as this could have been, I didn't like the way it was working. I'm trying to have it so that my lower control arm got lots of movement in the downward position, and I don't want to have no binding or anything with it. I'm going to have some sort of binding from this here where it's not in line with this here. There's going to be something going on. But if I can get this side here with a joint on it as well, and that one there, it'll actually, both of them will actually, if I put enough into the joint, that I should be able to compensate for this being solid mounted, right? So I gave up that idea, and I said, okay, I'm just going to run a spherical rod in from there down to here, make a bracket there, and then make a bracket here. So then I got started on the bracket. Going through my collection of stuff, I come across these here. These are the type of joints that I'm going to need in this here. You see the way they got a lot of movement in them. I can go a lot further with the joint than I can with anything else, see? And that's what I need to get the movement in the front end that I'm after. I have 2 of these in stock. I bought them for I was going to make my own Caltrack system, and I ended up buying the setup. So I do have 2 of these in stock, so I'm going to have to pick up 2 more of them. And the only thing I don't like about them, their bungs are huge. These ones here. And it looks to be the same thread as these ones here that I got. Got the smaller bung, and I'd like to find a couple more of these. Now that's right hand, left hand thread, whichever is which, but they're not the same thread. And I like to find a smaller bung for them, so I'll worry about that later. But that's the whole idea on a bar like that, rod in on either end, and have it sort of as adjustable, okay? So that's where I went with that. I had that all figured out. So now I just start playing around with templates then. Yeah, me and templates. Strange, isn't it? But I turned around, the biggest thing I had to do was figure out the angle over here. I got this angle going from here out to this point here, and what I ended up doing is I took a piece of angle iron and I set it up here, going from here back to here to get my angle. Then I start playing around, just cutting cardboard templates till I got the angle that I wanted. I was happy with that angle, but when I set it all up, it was sticking off on this end here. So then I went back and I made a second template. But my second template fit a lot better. Okay, it fit around the corner because that's the way the corner had to go. is set up to turn to fit around the edge. It's set up to fit like so, see? So it goes on the angle that I'm after, and it'll continue on around the corner. After I got this one made, I put it up here where the 2 inches is to. Now it's not coming straight off the frame rail like so. This is going to be on an angle like this. And this here is on an angle. So when you brought this down like so, this got longer on the back side. So I had to figure that out so that that could be able to get longer like so, coming down like that and that on an angle. It was a tricky one, I can guarantee you that. I made a bunch of them. I ended up with this here. Okay, all this here is a whole bunch of these taped together, and that's all I did is I taped them together to make, they're 2 inches wide because that's the size of the material that I have there to use. I think it would have been nice to probably have something smaller, but if I have to use this joint here, I need at least a 2 inch piece of material to start with, right? So anyway, I turned around and I made up a few of these here, taped them together so I got a nice little box, and then I went over and test fit it. So I come over here and I test fitted on the car and I got it there, and it, it didn't seem like 100%, but I couldn't see what was going on. I said to myself, my best bet now is to take this here, bring it over and mark it out on a piece of steel, and because it was too flimsy to actually see it, and it had to be half solid for me to actually see it joined on here. So I went out and I laid it against the 2 pieces 2x2, and I said I'm just going to cut one out and see what it looks like. So I went ahead and I cut one out. Now, as you can see, this looks a little bit different than this, and this is what I could see. Now, the mistake I made here is I turned around and I took this. Let me turn this upside down here, because you'll see that one there. See the angle that there is on. I've after modifying this some more since. But that there, I made all these upside down to each other, and what that ends up doing is that this one here now fits on the passenger side, not the driver's side. But I ended up cutting it out so it looked like this here. Then I went over fitting it, and I've noticed there was a couple of things I didn't like about it. And if you flip this over, you can see the difference in what was going on there. I ended up having to weld the piece back onto it again to actually get the shape that I was after, and just doing fitting on it. And then when you flip it over the bottom side, you can see the difference in the way the bottom is. This is all I had to do to actually get this where I wanted it to be. So there's the piece that I had, and there's how it will fit on the car, okay? It'll fit in through there, wrap around here, weld on, all like that. I'm not worried about it out here right yet. A lot of this will be cut off when it's all said and done, because it's only for the mounting of the thing. And all I did is I made sure that it lined up with that hole there, and I went back to that there, and I used a piece of angle iron and laid it on top of it and made sure that it went centered on that there. That's all I did. Is I made sure that was straight there, and I come down, made sure it lined up, and I passed over the center of the hole there. And I had the angle set up that I wanted it on. And that's where I got it all figured out. So now that I got that one made, this one here, what I'm going to do now is, before I trim this up and drill holes and everything in it, I'm going to go make the other side. So I'll go get the other one cut out when we come back. When it comes to complicated things like that, okay, we need a left and a right. So here's the thing, I figured this out the hard way, because when I made this here fit the other side, and if you notice that it's backwards to it. And so now that this here's, I got one of these made, I turn around, if I laid it on here and traced it out, put it on like so, is that the way it was? Yeah, like so. That's where it starts like that, and I'll trace that one there out, and then I'll rotate it around. I'll trace that one there out, and so on, go around. This one here now, when you lay two of these together, are opposite of each other, okay? Because I'm doing it on the outside of the panel and not on the inside, this way here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead now and scribe these here. I use tape and to mark it all out so I can get a nice precise line. I'll take the grinder now and I'll just make a little line here and mark all this here with the lines with the grinder. And I'll go ahead and I'll cut all that off, and I'll have the second one made. So I got that cut off. I'm just using the grinder, cutting it off the grinder, nothing fancy. What I'm going to do now is take 24 grit grinding disc, and I'm going to smoothen all these out now, give myself some flat edges, and then go test fit this one, see what it's like. There's the bracket there. I went and checked it along with the control arm and everything, with the angle iron and everything, make sure everything was on the right angle and everything. I'm happy with that. So now I have a left and a right. Now what I got to do now is mark it and drill it for holes for the actual rod end to go through it. And then I can trim all the rest of this off and make it a lot smaller. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is figure out where the rod end is going to go. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the rod into, so don't touch the piece of metal and bring it out. Mark it and then drill a hole through here. And then line this up flat and straight and drill another hole through the opposite side of it, going out the back side of it, and then I'll duplicate that over onto the other bracket and then drill two of them out so I can put a larger hole in them, and that way I'll have that done then. So what I need to figure out now is where to set this up for the bottoming out for the rod in itself. Okay, all I'm going to do is I'll put that down inside there. That's where that's going to hit. And then I'm going to bring it out just a small bit. And what I've done is I use the end of this here to mark the depth of it. So if you look there and you can see that I pulled it out that much, that's the depth of it. So then all I'm going to do is just move that to there. That's where I got to drill my hole. So I'll mark that there now, measure it off, and I'll start drilling the holes. I just marked the center of the hole where I wanted it. Made sure it was centered this way here and it's back as far as I wanted it. And I just turned and drill a 1/8 hole there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a large drill bit now. I don't know what size, I think it might be a quarter. And I'm going to drill right down through both of this here. When it gets both of that drilled, I'm going to take the other one and lay it on top of it and mark that and clamp two of them together like so. And then I'll drill down and get this one here marked so that I can drill down through this one here. So both holes are in the same location. Now I got both of them drilled out. What I'll do now is I'll upsize the bits and I'll bring it up to a bit that I can put that bolt through. There it is there. Then I can put this bolt through and just feed it right on through there. That'll be the next one. So I get a drill bit now of that size. I dare say it's going to be a step drill, but I'll do each side. So now that I got them drilled out, they're drilled out to the exact size of the hole here. Fits through that right nice, right? So I got that done. Then what I did is I marked the center line of it all the way around. You see the center line there? Center line there all the way around it. What I did then is I took the washer, I laid the washer over centered in the hole, and I scribed it on this side here. And then I'll flip it over on the other side. Then I'll scribe that there. And what I'll do now is I'll cut all this off here, up along here, and that'll give me a nice little bracket, not too big and bulky. And I'll have two ears sticking out. That way it'll have movement for up and down, and then that'll be the bracket done. So I'm gonna go ahead now, trim them up. That one there's done the same way. I'll get both of them trimmed up, and I'll show you what the finished product looks like. So here they are, all made up, nice and small and simple. There you are with the rod in place. I got it set up so that I can move this from side to side. What I'll end up doing is I'll put shims on either side of this here, whether I want to have it this way, I want to have it centered. It just gives me more adjustment is all it does. I could make this precisely small, but it would have been nice if I had smaller square stock, but I had this here and it looks a lot nicer when it's made out of this stuff. And to me, it just gives it more adjustability. But you can see that I can move that through the motions that needs to. And so that is the extent of them, okay? So I'm going to turn around now, get these mounted on the chassis, and it'll be the last pieces that I got to weld onto that. So I got that one there tacked in place, and I got the other one tacked in place over there. Then I went back and I took a bunch of measurements from here down to the bolt, from here back to the edge of the bolt, both sides. From here up to here, X measurement. From here down to there, X measurement. And I'm very, very close, very close. If I'm a 16th out, that's the most of it. Or 32nd, whatever we want to look at it. It's very, very minute. Not enough for me to worry about it, because there is lots of adjustment there, right? So I'm going to go ahead now and get them all blasted in, get them welded in. And there you have it. In my own light. There we go. And the other one's all welded up over there as well. Two last pieces on this chassis. Now I know there's probably going to be a few things, a little bracket here, clip there, or something that's going to be welded on this. But all the structural parts of this car, suspension, all the main components, all that is on this frame. The frame to me now is completed to the point that I can go ahead now and get this all prepped and get it painted. I've been spending a lot of time at this car for the simple fact that I got a lot of space taken up in the garage now with two of these. So I like to get both of it put back together again and get all this finished. So what I'm going to do next now on this here, I'll get this all cleaned up. I got a bit of rust and everything to deal with and get everything grinded up and cut off. Let's get this here tidied up and cleaned up a bit better. This front mount here got to be trimmed off and cleaned up. I'll do all that. Get all this front ready, get the control arms all out of it now. And I'm going to get that painted. So that'll be on the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's just more brackets and everything. I'm just trying to get stuff done and keep this channel going and keep the content going. This is a lot of the boring stuff on this car, but it's got to be done. So anyway, I hope the tips were good, and until next time. The outside here will be 25 inches from the inside here. The inside here will be 25 inches. Not getting nothing done with you today, am I? Not a thing. No, nothing. Yes, spot. Yeah. What do you think of it all?